At the palace banquet, I was conferred the title of princess. I was sent to West Kingdom for a political marriage. My future husband is the king of West Kingdom, a people with human bodies and serpent tails. On the eve of the marriage, the matrons brought several volumes of fire avoidance illustrations, and urged me to study them diligently. Do not provoke your future husband's displeasure. I nodded in agreement. After turning the first page, I closed it again in panic. The men in the fire avoidance illustrations all had human bodies and serpent tails. They were different from ordinary people. Even that, had two of them. Sure enough, good fortune never falls upon me. After both my parents passed away, my second uncle inherited the title. I became an orphaned girl living under someone else's roof, treading carefully in every way. Half a month ago, during a palace banquet, the emperor suddenly remembered my late father and specially enfeoffed me as Princess Lucky, to be married off to the king of West Kingdom. The land of West Kingdom is known for its fierce and bold folk customs, with the most peculiar trait being their inability to restrain themselves when overcome with passion. They intertwine their tales with one another, yet, women from other tribes often perish from the suffocating tightness of these entanglements. No one is willing to marry into West Kingdom. I spent the night in nightmares and fear, and at dawn the next day, I boarded the carriage. The journey from El City to West Kingdom would take over a month. Perhaps fearing I might flee the marriage, the maidservants accompanying me kept a watchful eye on me without blinking. They also feared I might take my own life, so every meal, garment, and item I used was meticulously inspected by them. Lying idly in the carriage all day with nothing to do, I flipped through that illustrated manual of intimate arts. On the day we arrived in West Kingdom, it happened to be the beginning of summer. I entered the princess's residence, while the marriage alliance envoy went to meet the king of West Kingdom, only to be turned away. That night, however, I had a dream. In the dream, a young man with strikingly handsome features and a red mole on the tip of his nose strode confidently toward me. When he noticed me lifting my skirt to flee, he manifested a serpent's tail and coiled it around my waist to stop me. I tumbled onto his tail, seeing the scales covering his body glisten black. Scraping against my nails with a grating sound, the tip of his tail brushed against my waist through the thin gauze of my dress as he gripped my chin firmly, licking away my tears. Your tears are sweet. He clicked his tongue, his smiling eyes slightly curved, waking up with an aching back. The maid said people from West Kingdom like to sleep with their tails hanging from trees, clearly not as adept at enjoying life as we East Kingdom people, causing the princess discomfort. I thought she was wrong. But fearing last night's nightmare might come true, I checked every inch of my body. Not a single mark remained. Perhaps it was truly a dream. Uneasy and restless, I heard the envoy request an audience, so I set the matter aside for the time being. The envoy looked distressed. The king of West Kingdom is arrogant and bloodthirsty. We've sought an audience for 2 days to no avail. I fear he intends to break the agreement. The burden of this marriage alliance falls upon a woman. As an old minister, it pains my heart, but your highness must endure all things and take care not to provoke him. I understand him, rest assured, my lord. This woman also has the nation and the world in her heart. The envoy sighed and left, as if he didn't believe me. That night, the young man entered my dreams again. He made no attempt to hide, gliding in from outside the house without making a sound. I seemed to sense something and opened my eyes, only to find him already squeezing onto the bed, his massive serpent tail occupying the remaining space. Meanwhile, he propped his chin on his hand, flipping through the hidden, fire avoidance illustrations I had stashed away with great relish. I snatched the book away, only to be pulled into his embrace instead. He chuckled lowly. So this is what you East Kingdom people like. I pushed the young man away. Don't be insolent. I am the princess of West Kingdom. What does being the princess matter? The king of West Kingdom dotes on me greatly. If I ask for you, he will surely give you to me. He restrained my hands, his serpentine tail slithering restlessly, creeping up from my calf until it suddenly stopped at a certain spot. The tail flicked slightly, and I couldn't help trembling, biting my lip as I glared at him. He smiled tenderly, blowing a breath by my ear. My consort, isn't this just scratching an itch through boots? Furious, I tried to bite him, but he dodged. He offered a kiss instead, grinning as he shoved his tail into my hand for me to vent my anger. The tail's scales were tough. I pinched hard, leaving no mark, while it smugly brushed against my palm, seeing me gnash my teeth in frustration. He was utterly delighted. Mia, how did he know my childhood name? Startled, I woke up, in the inner chamber. The faint sound of a maidservant's snoring could be heard. It was just a dream again, on the third day in West Kingdom. The king of West Kingdom summoned me. The envoy said this was against propriety, as according to the rites of Zhou, betrothed couples should not meet before the wedding. The king of West Kingdom threw out a long sword, slicing off the envoy's ceremonial hat, frightening him so much that he trembled and scurried back to the princess's residence. The maid spoke to me indignantly. How dare the king of West Kingdom act like this? Does he even have our East Kingdom in his eyes? East Kingdom was defeated in war. We didn't come here to live in luxury as a princess consort. I looked out the window. Among my dowry are 3 cities. Though called a dowry, it merely concealed the truth of ceding territory to sue for peace. I dressed in my finest attire and entered the West Kingdom palace, only to be led by guards to the rear hall. After winding through 7 or 8 turns in the hall, a steaming hot spring suddenly appeared before my eyes. There was someone in the water, a human torso floating on the surface, while a serpent's tail gently lapped at the waves. This figure seemed somewhat familiar. The guard who led me here had already vanished without a trace. I turned to leave, but the serpent's tail was quicker. He emerged from the water, coiled around my waist in an instant, and with a forceful tug, dragged me into the depths, hairpins scattered. My carefully arranged bun loosened at the back of my head as I stared in terror at the youth before me. It was the very same person who had visited my dreams for 2 consecutive nights. I can't swim, so he let me sit on his tail. We just met last night, and you don't recognize me today. That was just a dream. Was it really a dream? He covered my eyes and chuckled. The princess should know better. Last night, you even got my tail all wet. Last night's dream flooded into my mind. My face flushed red. I dared not look at his serpent tail, wishing he would never speak again. I didn't, yet he wouldn't stop, laughing frivolously. Where didn't you? Next time I'll make sure you see clearly. Clearly, yesterday was not my choice either. Yet he kept pressing forward. I never imagined such a person existed in West Kingdom. His serpentine tail circled in the water, loop after loop trapping me within, when he suddenly said, "Why cry? Tell me yourself, which of my words was a lie?" His words only made my tears flow even more uncontrollably. "Who exactly are you?" I sobbed, my demeanor completely crumbling. "I was summoned to the palace today, yet you spout such nonsense and humiliate me like this. Aren't you afraid the king of West Kingdom will punish you?" Even invoking the name of the king of West Kingdom failed to move this young man. He saw right through me. The one who's afraid is clearly the princess consort. After all, our king is famously protective of his own and quick to anger, he said with a smile, exuding an air of dazzling charm. My heart sank. If the king of West Kingdom were to witness this scene, he would never believe me and could even use infidelity as grounds to annul this marriage alliance. And I would become the sinner who destroys the diplomatic relations between the 2 nations. The serpent's tail tightened, its scales pressing painfully into me. I struggled with all my limbs, trying to crawl ashore from its grasp. Suddenly, it tightened its grip, pulling me close to its face. I glared in anger, feeling a wet sensation against my cheek. "Stop crying. The king is drunk. He won't notice us. I'll let you play with my tail." He coiled his serpent tail around my ankle, circled once, then released it, placing it into my palm. I shook my hand free, growing anxious, and leaned forward, only to trip over his serpent tail and fall into his embrace. He let out a muffled groan. "How about I persuade the king to receive the envoys from East Kingdom? The envoy has been troubled by this matter these past 2 days. If the king of West Kingdom agrees to meet him, it would count as my contribution to the East Kingdom." I raised my face to look at him. "Really? Of course it's true." He suddenly smiled again, wiping the tear stains from my face. "But I must ask for one more thing." Every hair on my body stood on end. Though I knew it was a trap, I still stepped right in. "What? Perhaps it's a kiss." He moved closer to me. I couldn't help but close my eyes. When I opened them again, I was back at the princess's residence, where the maids brought warm ginger tea and served it to me. The king of West Kingdom truly had ill intentions, summoning the princess to the palace only to cause her to fall into the lake. Upon careful inquiry, I learned that I was brought back by a West Kingdom maidservant, drenched and wrapped in brocade. the maidservant said the king of West Kingdom was drunk and had me wait in the garden, but I was frightened by a pet in the garden and fell into the lake, fainting. They spoke so convincingly that it left me somewhat bewildered, for I clearly remember being in the hot spring with that young man. With eyes closed, I faintly heard him say, "Remember, my name is Lucas." What was a dream, he insisted, was reality. What was real, felt like a dream, until the late night when the bright moon hung high. I was still wondering, did that kiss ever land? That night, Lucas did not appear in my dreams, but early the next morning, news arrived. The king of West Kingdom summoned the envoys of the East Kingdom to the palace for marriage negotiations. The envoy was overjoyed, holding the imperial edict. He knelt before me and wept. "This old minister will surely live up to the high expectations of His Majesty and the princess." I had my maids help him up. "Be cautious in all matters, my lord." The envoy, with tears streaming down his aged face, entered the West Kingdom royal palace but was carried back on a stretcher. He bitterly cursed the king of West Kingdom for keeping a python in the grand hall, saying it was no wonder the princess was frightened. At the same time, he brought back two pieces of news. The first was that the king of West Kingdom was willing to form a marriage alliance with the East Kingdom to establish a century of goodwill. Second, the wedding is scheduled to take place in 10 days. The maids of the West Kingdom palace followed the envoy, carrying the wedding attire in a procession into the princess's residence. The customs of West Kingdom are open, and the young women here dress quite boldly. Their tops are as short as undergarments, while the lower half is a long skirt adorned with silver pieces and gemstones, revealing a slender waist. I dismissed the West Kingdom maidservant without even trying. That night, my nightmare returned. Lucas swaggered into the room, his nimble serpent tail flipping open the tucked-in quilt corner, squeezing in beside me, his tail tentatively coiled around my ankle, only to be kicked away, then stubbornly wrapped around my knees again. He reached out to touch my face, his breath warm against my neck. "Wang just met the envoy, and you already want to renege. You clearly already." My voice trailed off, growing so faint even I wasn't sure. Seeing my guilt, Lucas's serpentine tail grew more domineering, parting me until I was utterly flustered. Lucas gave a soft hum. "That booklet of yours clearly depicted it this way." Booklet? He's seen my fireproof diagram. Mortified, I pinched the tail tip, only for it to coil around me as if trying to please. "You're not allowed to speak. You really have no conscience." Lucas smiled. "Mia," he moved closer to me, "you still owe me a kiss." "My name is Margaret. Mia is my childhood name. No one knows this name except my deceased parents." I was puzzled in my heart, but Lucas wouldn't let me ask. He leaned close to me, carefully tracing the outline of my lips, light as a feather's touch, carrying an unbearable edge. I tilted my head back, and the serpent tail quietly released my knee, coiling around my wrist, slithering into my sleeve. By the time I regained my senses, my calf was already resting on his serpent body, biting the tip of my tongue. I abruptly pushed him away. "In 10 more days, I will be wed into the West Kingdom royal palace. Do you truly wish to become a royal consort?" Lucas's serpent tail hooked around my fingertip. "If I were to ask the king for you, he would surely grant you to me." He lifted my chin, his vertical pupils gazing at me. "Choose me, without hesitation." I rejected him. At the end of this dream, Lucas was furious, his serpentine tail coiling around me until I couldn't move. When I cried in discomfort, he slipped a jade green bracelet onto my wrist. He said it was a wedding gift. I don't believe he's that kind-hearted. The next morning, as expected, I heard the maid scream as she pointed at my wrist. A jade green snake raised its head and hissed at her. I gripped it by the 7 inches and flung it to the ground, yet it coiled around my fingertip. The snake's body was icy cold, unnervingly docile, as if bewitched. I kept it. With the wedding day approaching, the envoys and maids of the princess's residence were exceptionally busy. The envoy who escorted me to the West Kingdom palace was about to return to El City, having spent these days busy negotiating the cession of cities with the ministers of West Kingdom. Meanwhile, the maidservant stayed with me in West Kingdom, occupied these days with organizing the dowry I brought from El City. Only I remained idle, leisurely embroidering a red bridal veil. On the eve of the wedding, Lucas disturbed my peaceful dreams once again. He woke me by coiling around me, saying he wanted to give me one last chance. "After tonight, there will be no more possibilities between Mia and Lucas." I nearly spat at him in anger. I am the princess of East Kingdom, and it is only right for me to marry the king of West Kingdom for political alliance. It's clearly you who won't leave me alone. Before I could even get angry, Lucas seemed to be the one who couldn't bear it. His tail coiled around me, pulling me into his embrace. His body was frighteningly hot as he cupped my face, capturing my lips with his. Only for me to bite down hard on his tongue. The taste of blood filled my mouth. I saw Lucas's irises narrow, his hand rising to brush my lips, sharp teeth and a sharp tongue, trembling all over. I gasped as he sank his teeth into my wrist. My princess, you are truly something else. I was plagued by nightmares all night. In the dream, Lucas knelt before the faceless king of West Kingdom, accusing me of abandoning him after leading him on. He repeated over and over in my ear, "Consort, you truly are something else." Even as the maids helped me up and dressed me, I wasn't fully awake. Weddings in West Kingdom weren't as elaborate as in East Kingdom, especially since this current king of West Kingdom had lost both parents and had no relatives or friends left. I sit in the bridal sedan chair, traveling from the princess's residence along Golden River Street all the way to the West Kingdom Royal Palace. After the king of West Kingdom leads me in ancestral worship, we can then enter the bridal chamber. I sit on the bed in the palace chamber, covered by a red veil, with nothing but a crimson hue in sight. Not a single maid or matron by my side dares to speak. The king of West Kingdom could not come to take me to the ancestral rites. He was assassinated in the palace, and the assassin was from the East Kingdom. He ordered the peace envoy to be thrown into the dungeon, while I was placed under house arrest in my chambers, as a princess sent for marriage alliance. I was rejected by my husband on the very night of our wedding. I sensed something was amiss. All I know is the one-sided account from the people of West Kingdom, but I have no time to ponder it carefully. Late at night, Lucas arrived again, with a flick of his long tail. He swept away the irritating dried fruits on the bed and poured 2 cups of wine. I heard that according to East Kingdom's customs, tonight we must drink the wedding wine. I turned my head away. The one I married is the king of West Kingdom. Lucas clung to me like a stubborn snake, snorting coldly. He doesn't want you anymore, leaving you to guard an empty chamber. That's not true at all. Though I didn't want to argue with him, he always easily stirred my emotions. It's just that he has misunderstandings with us now. I must find a way to meet the envoys to understand what truly happened today. Lucas lounged on the couch, as if reading my thoughts. Drink this wedding toast with me, and I'll take you to see the East Kingdom envoys. I took the cup and downed it in one gulp. Little did I know this wine was far stronger than the fruit wine I'd tasted in El City. After drinking, the world seemed to spin around me, and Lucas continued to chatter incessantly. "Mia, your parents abandoned you, leaving you alone in this world. The East Kingdom abandoned you, sending you far away to West Kingdom for a political marriage. Your envoy abandoned you. They disregarded your safety and attempted to assassinate the king. Even the king doesn't want you." After drinking the cup of wedding wine, my vision blurred and spun, and even sitting on the couch, I felt like I might collapse at any moment. Even Lucas turned into 1, 2, 7, or 8 versions of himself. Each Lucas kept talking, each one saying, "Mia, only I want you." The serpent's tail swept across my waist, loosening my belt in an instant. Disgusted by how it ignited flames everywhere, I resolved to grab hold of it. He lunged forward and fell into a scorching embrace. The serpent's tail, docile beneath my legs, stirred a wicked impulse in me. I stroked it against the scales, from base to tip. Before my eyes, 7 or 8 Lucases merged into one. His eyes widened in shock, the corners flushed crimson. I have a terrible headache from the hangover. I can't even remember clearly what happened after drinking the ceremonial wine last night. When I turned over to get off the bed, I realized I was pinned down by a snake's tail and couldn't move. Lucas's snake tail wasn't coiled on the bed but draped over my legs, extending all the way to the floor. I kicked away the serpent's tail, only to have Lucas grab my ankle. "Drink water but never forget who dug the well. You truly are an ungrateful wretch." He deliberately flicked the serpent's tail in front of me, and it did look rather crumpled. I ignored him. "I want to see the envoy." "Is this how you East Kingdom people ask for favors?" Lucas sneered. "You beg me, yet seek to gain through me. What's in it for me? This snake, the moment it wakes up, starts acting up." I sat at the head of the bed, keeping my distance from him, yet he still hooked me with his tail, the tip resting on my ankle. flicking occasionally, looking up at him. His entire face screamed, "Comfort me." I turned my face away, ready to leap over his tail and off the bed, but he scooped me into his arms. A warm breath brushed past my cheek, lingering at the corner of my lips. He pressed down on me. By the time we met the envoy, it was already dusk. Lucas had somehow procured a set of guards' clothing and took me into the dungeon. The envoys had clearly been tortured, their bodies covered in bloody marks. They wept bitterly, admitting that the assassination of the king of West Kingdom was their doing. All under the orders of the fourth prince. The goal was to stir chaos in the East Kingdom, and I, as expected, was the abandoned pawn of East Kingdom. The envoy knelt and kowtowed. "This matter was entirely our doing and has nothing to do with others. The princess is most benevolent. Please spare their lives." Countless pairs of eyes, filled with a longing for life, turned to me. They had followed me all the way from El City to West Kingdom. I could not turn a blind eye and had no choice but to request an audience with the king of West Kingdom, yet I was stopped by the guards outside the palace hall. Upon hearing this, Lucas reclined on the couch, tilting his head slightly. "Mia, begging the king is no use. Better beg me." I shot him a sidelong glance. How would begging you help? Beg me, and I'll spare their lives," Lucas said with a light chuckle. "I'll ensure they avoid execution and are merely exiled." His serpent tail had retracted, leaving him with long legs casually stretched out. He raised an eyebrow. "Come here, kiss me." The fire avoidance diagrams don't teach these things. Noble ladies shouldn't have to learn such servile tasks. It was always Lucas who shamelessly came to me before. Seeing my hesitation, he fanned the flames further. "Our king is the most vengeful, killing without batting an eye, now that he's been injured. And by someone from East Kingdom. He must be holding a grudge. Your guard is probably going to be torn to pieces." I stepped forward, pressing my lips to his for a brief moment before pulling away. "That's not how it's done," Lucas chuckled, pulling me onto his lap. He steadied me with a hand on my waist. "Mia, let me teach you." I struggled slightly, only to be effortlessly subdued by him. The world spun before my eyes, my breath uneven, and I felt something strange beneath me. I realized belatedly, his serpent tail had emerged. Lucas acted swiftly, claiming it was to drive the guards away before the king of West Kingdom could kill anyone. Even the envoys sent the people back to El City. By my side remained only the maids who attended to me personally and the matron who accompanied me as part of the dowry. They were deeply concerned about my future. The envoy of the marriage alliance arranged the assassination attempt. "If the king of West Kingdom takes other women in the future, how will we survive?" The nanny advised me. "The king of West Kingdom has few heirs. If the princess can bear children, she will secure her place in West Kingdom, but they have human bodies and serpent tails." The nanny paused. "And the king of West Kingdom is extremely cruel. The princess will suffer greatly." Suddenly, I thought of Lucas. Even just the tip of the tail is unbearable, not to mention. The king of West Kingdom shows me no mercy at all. I shake my head vigorously, trying to forget this memory, yet when Lucas sneaks into the hall and asks me what I'm pondering, I blurt out, "I was wondering, who between you and the king of West Kingdom is more?" Lucas was taken aback, then smiled tenderly. "Of course, it's me." He tempted me. "Want to give it a try?" I shook my head in refusal. Ever since I started fooling around with him, I've always been afraid that this affair would be discovered. "Lucas, let me go. I am the princess of West Kingdom, the face of your kingdom. I must stand by the king of West Kingdom and not take a single wrong step." I knew this delicate young man responded better to soft words than force. Wrapping my arms around his waist, I said, "There are many fine maidens in West Kingdom." Lucas gritted his teeth. "You want me to seek someone else?" His face remained strikingly beautiful even when angry, just with slightly narrowed eyes, yet his serpent tail coils around me, twisting into knots. He seemed somewhat distressed, pinching my cheeks with his hand. "We men of West Kingdom, once we choose someone, it's for a lifetime. Even in death, our souls will follow you." I fumed. "Are you trying to steal a woman from the king of West Kingdom? Do you even value your life?" "For me, it's not worth it," I earnestly advised him, but it only made Lucas seethe with anger. He was initially gnashing his teeth, then suddenly grew dazed and lowered his head. "No, you're not." A kiss lands between my brows. "You're the most deserving." That night, Lucas held me obediently, his serpent tail coiled quietly at the foot of the bed. the scorching summer heat felt like a furnace. When I woke up, Lucas was already gone. This was exactly what I had hoped for, yet I couldn't shake the melancholy in my heart. In the blink of an eye, the Chishi festival arrived. According to West Kingdom's tradition, on this day, the king and queen of West Kingdom would set off fireworks for their people. This was the first time I had seen the king of West Kingdom since arriving here. He wore black armor, his face half covered by a silver mask, faintly revealing a red mole on the tip of his nose. I curtsied and bowed to him. "Your Majesty." His voice was very low as his gaze swept over me. "Consort." The rising inflection of his tone inexplicably reminded me of Lucas. Wasn't he deeply favored by the king of West Kingdom? Yet among the numerous attendants behind him, not a single one was that snake's figure. I stood beside the king of West Kingdom. I only spoke one word to him all night, confirming the rumors that the queen was out of favor. Fireworks bloomed over the city walls. As I raised my head to admire the dazzling display, my wrist was suddenly brushed. Turning to look, I saw the king of West Kingdom standing tall and straight, his gaze fixed on the city's lantern lights, where the cheers of the crowd rose. "They are all his subjects." Perhaps it was the wind blowing by, giving me an illusion. I clasped my hands in front of me until the fireworks faded. That night, I saw Lucas again after a long time. He boldly squeezed onto the bed, his serpentine tail swaying wildly, his chin resting on my shoulder. "Have you missed me these days?" "No, your lips say no, but your heart says yes." Lucas's tail pressed against my chest. "Mia, your heart is beating so fast." I tried to break free, but he let out a contented sigh. "Don't move, just let me hold you." Lucas seemed exhausted, as if he had finally found a moment to rest, but I forgot what the nanny once told me. Men's words are not to be trusted, especially those of male snakes. The pillow from the headboard was placed under my waist as I sobbed and bit his shoulder, leaving a bloody mark. Lucas wasn't angry but instead smiled, the corners of his lips glistening with moisture. "It's sweet," he said. He murmured as he leaned closer. "Mia, taste it." I turned my head away in refusal, and as I clung to the tip of his tail, only one thought remained in my dazed mind: it's finally over. When I woke up, the bed was empty and crumpled. I saw a small wooden lamp placed by the bedside, carved with many, many words. The characters are stacked upon one another. Upon closer inspection, there's actually only one, Mia. Influenced by bloodline, when the weather turns cold, the people of West Kingdom prefer to stay indoors, as if hibernating. Thus, they particularly cherish autumn, much like the East Kingdom, and hold autumn hunts. On such occasions, both the king and the queen must appear, so I can also attend. I'm somewhat looking forward to it, but these past few days, Lucas has been in an extremely bad mood. He often wakes up in the middle of the night, wrapping me in his serpent tail and pulling me tightly into his arms before he can fall back asleep. I pinched the tip of his tail, but he still refuses to let go. "It's so hot." Lucas presses his cool serpent body against my back, encircling me completely. "Hot? You're wearing too much." The girls of West Kingdom wear only a thin garment, but with serpent tails beneath them, they naturally need no extra layer. Pressed against Lucas, my front burns with heat, while the serpent tail against my back chills me to the bone. Caught between fire and ice, I writhe in discomfort, tears streaming down my face. Lucas only laughs in exasperation. "If you waste your energy crying now, soon you won't even have the strength to shed a tear." I choked up and bit his nose in frustration. Until the day of the hunt, everyone said the princess of West Kingdom was nothing more than a clay idol from the East Kingdom. Not even sharing the same tent as the king, our king merely kept her around, cold and distant. Lucas thought the same. He clearly wasn't following the king of West Kingdom, yet somehow appeared out of nowhere, sneaking into my tent with a mountain wildcat in hand, tiny and still alive. He bit my earlobe angrily, regretting it now. "Since he doesn't want you, you should have chosen me back then." I held the mountain cat and shooed him away. "You reek of snake, you're not allowed in my tent." Lucas glared with hostility. "People walk past the tent at any moment. Do you really want rumors spreading in West Kingdom that the princess consort keeps wild men and snakes in her tent?" He suddenly laughed, though it was unclear what he found so amusing. Wrapping his arms around me, he let out muffled chuckles from his throat. "Mia, wait a few more days, and I'll teach you horseback riding and hunting," holding the little wild fox. I absent-mindedly agreed. But before Lucas could teach me to ride, bandits arrived first, rampaging through the camp and killing indiscriminately. I heard pleas outside the tent, "Don't kill me, don't kill me, she's the princess. Kill her, kill her." A cold glint flashed before my eyes as the blade cleaved through the tent, slashing toward me. A serpentine tail coiled around my waist, yanking me backward to evade the long sword. An arrow shot forth, striking the bandit squarely between the brows. I looked up to see the king of West Kingdom, clad in a silver mask, shielding me. Beside him lay several corpses, his armor bearing countless blade marks. The serpent's tail coiled around my waist had spent countless nights with me. I pinched the tip of the tail, and it immediately wound around my wrist. Lifting the mask, a strikingly beautiful face came into view. "Mia," Lucas smiled with gently curved eyes. "You found me." I fell into a cold war with Lucas, one-sided. Recalling every incident since stepping into West Kingdom, he deceived and coaxed me through dreams. On the day of the grand wedding, he claimed to have been injured in an assassination attempt, yet in the dead of night, he drank the nuptial wine with me as Lucas, still asking me whether to marry him or the king of West Kingdom. Even the jealousy act was so convincing. I swore not to see him again, the palace gates tightly shut, yet nothing could stop Lucas, drenched and dripping. He squeezed onto the bed, holding me as we slept, murmuring, "Mia," over and over in my ear. I'm utterly annoyed, so damn noisy. His serpentine tail coils around my leg, perhaps dampened by the moisture, clinging to me wet and slippery. I shift an inch away, and he presses in an inch closer, until I have no more room to retreat. The tip of his tail seizes the opportunity to slip in. "Mia, I know you're angry that I lied to you." Lucas kissed the tip of my ear. "But I'm really not the king of West Kingdom. You should remember me. That day in G City, the rain was heavy, and I was being bullied by beggars while dragging my serpent tail. I remember that beggar. That day, the rain poured as I pointed at him and asked why he had a tail. But I didn't. Father rubbed my head and told me that this was a flood dragon's tail. But they usually live in West Kingdom. This child was left alone and must have been bullied. He was truly pitiful. With scars all over his tail and his scales torn off. That day, I left him an umbrella. He asked me for my name, and I told him I was called Mia. So, after hearing my father's words, you came to West Kingdom." Lucas shook his head. "I only left Y City after your parents passed away and you were taken back to L City by the James family." He had cared for her far longer than she had ever imagined. So long that when her pale yellow skirt fluttered before his eyes and she handed him an umbrella to shield him from the rain, from that moment on, he donned his armor, unafraid of wind or storm. After leaving G City, Lucas traveled to many places and encountered a young man who was afflicted with a strange poison and had little time left to live. Their eyes and brows bore a 3 or 4 point resemblance. The young man claimed to be the young master of West Kingdom, insisting that he was his elder brother and wishing to entrust him with the mess that was West Kingdom. Yet, with no other members left in the West Kingdom royal family, there was no one to verify the truth of his identity. "My position is illegitimate. There are always those who seek to replace me." Lucas turned me over. "One day, I may no longer be the king of West Kingdom, but I will always be Lucas." He carefully pried open my lips, then seized all my breath like a storm. "Mia, I didn't lie to you. Lucas was entrusted to you long ago." I bit his lip, the serpent's blood flowing into my mouth between my teeth, his tail entwining with my legs around my waist. Fate seemed to be playing a joke. The umbrella I had given away returned to my hands. From then on, someone shared the storms of life with me. Extra, male lead's perspective. Lucas spent 5 years transforming the scattered sands of West Kingdom into a sharp spear. He repelled the East Kingdom, leaving them powerless to fight back, forcing them to sue for peace through marriage alliances and territorial concessions. When discussing the marriage alliance, the East Kingdom tactfully mentioned that the princesses were still too young. The one sent for the alliance was likely a noblewoman or a daughter of the imperial clan. Lucas suddenly thought of Mia. During his years in G City, he had learned that she was the daughter of a high-ranking official, Lord James, from the capital. She had come to G City with her father when he assumed his post there. If she remains unmarried, he shall become her homecoming. Fortunately, fate favored him. Mia was enfeoffed as the Princess of Lucky and sent to marry into West Kingdom. He built a princess manor for her, with many secret passages throughout. but only the one leading from her bedchamber connected to his study. On the very day the peace marriage princess entered the manor. He knew, Lucas had told himself many times not to scare her, not to be greedy, but after his serpent tail coiled around her, everything spiraled out of control. The desire to possess her grew heavier with each passing moment, to get closer, to kiss her, to make her his own. His serpent tail stirred restlessly, yearning to make a home within her. But his subordinates came to report that there were unusual movements in the territory. Many tribes were conspiring to overthrow him from the throne. Such incidents had occurred frequently over the years. After all, his claim to the throne was illegitimate, as he was never the true king of West Kingdom. If one day he were to be dethroned, what would become of Mia? For the first time, Lucas felt that he was too greedy. He dragged her into the water but couldn't offer her a stable life, deliberately concealing his identity as the Prince of West Kingdom. He met her as Lucas, if she could choose Lucas. Perhaps he would abandon everything in West Kingdom, yet she chose to become the Princess of West Kingdom. She had her own principles, steadfast in her duty as a princess sent for political marriage. He hated himself for dragging her into this, especially when she urged him to let go and find another girl. Lucas also wanted to let go with ease, but he couldn't pick it up nor put it down. He even envied that version of himself as the Prince of West Kingdom, who could effortlessly win her favor without doing anything, but he couldn't tell her. He had people spread rumors that the Princess of West Kingdom was unloved, and when playing the role of the prince, he couldn't even glance at her more than necessary. He would make all the tribes focus their attention on him. During the autumn hunt, they would surely strike. He would be the umbrella shielding her from the rain, the shield standing before her. Never could he have imagined that those bandits would be so audacious as to kill the guards secretly stationed outside her tent, their blades swinging straight toward her face. Lucas's heart skipped a beat, wishing he could take her place, feeling grateful for the first time that he had the blood of West Kingdom in his veins. A serpent's tail coiled around her, pulling her close. Recognizing the tail, she lifted the mask and found him. After all these years as the king of West Kingdom, deep down, he was still that little beggar from G City when he stood before her. Finally, she still brought him home. Lucas had always been deeply troubled in his heart. During his grand wedding with Mia, he didn't complete the ceremony, though he wasn't actually injured. He played along to deceive the rebels. Mia was indifferent. The ancestral worship is for the ancestors of the West Kingdom Wang family. You have unknown parents. I am orphaned on both sides. We only need to declare our vows to heaven and earth. She made a valid point, but Lucas was still unhappy. That day, he had made many arrangements, yet they never declared their vows to heaven and earth. Suddenly, he became extremely busy and could only come to see her at night. Mia, upset by his neglect, threw a tantrum and sarcastically addressed Lucas as, "Your Highness, the king is always right. If the king deems it reasonable, then it is reasonable." Knowing full well how much he detested the guise of the Prince of West Kingdom, yet during their intimate moments, she would cling to his serpent tail, alternating between calling him Lucas and Prince. Lucas, seething with frustration, bit down on her lips. Mia's birthday arrived swiftly, and he erected an altar to announce it to heaven and earth, as well as to her deceased parents-in-law. He asked Mia to join in the worship. Mia remained silent for a long time before bursting into tears before her parents' memorial tablets. She had never been particularly fortunate, orphaned at a young age. The happiest years of her life were those spent in G City. Now, by Lucas's side, even she felt it was something stolen. Lucas smiled and wiped away her tears. The priest said, "I'm blessed with great fortune, always escaping death by a hair's breadth." He generously extended his hand to her. "Mia, I can share half with you." The world seemed to shrink in an instant. Before the altar, their fingers intertwined. Mia has been extremely panicked lately. The priestess said she was pregnant, but even she herself didn't know whether the child would be born with 2 legs, or a tail like a snake. Lucas said she was overthinking it, that snakes all hatch from eggs, and that's how all people from West Kingdom are. "I don't want to hatch eggs." Mia touched her flat belly. "But if it's a 2-legged human, would they get bullied by other snakes? Who dares?" Lucas pulled her into his arms, his serpent tail coiling around her wrist. "What if it's a snake egg?" In the West Kingdom region, when a woman becomes pregnant, it resembles that of a snake. She lays snake eggs and then hatches them, typically producing a clutch of 7 or 8 eggs. Mia's face flushed red. "Anyway, I don't want to hatch the eggs, you're also the father, why can't you do it? Lucas coaxed her. Fine, I'll do it. Mia can just watch. Suddenly, an image flashed through her mind. Lucas coiled around a nest of snake eggs, followed by the thought of the baby snakes breaking out of their shells, one by one, dragging their snake tails. They followed behind their father, like a line of little ducklings. She suddenly burst into laughter. This pregnancy was surprisingly easy, unlike others who suffered severe nausea or were kicked and punched from within. She only grew thicker around the waist, her belly swelled. And she felt a bit drowsy, until June, it suddenly hatched. Lucas held her and cried, saying his life was now complete. This snake egg took Lucas 3 months to incubate before it finally hatched. She arrived belatedly, and her first gift to her father was a bite on his fingertip. Even the shaman shook his head, saying this was a fierce and unruly female snake. Lucas thought, this couldn't be better. After he and Mia left, being fiercer would help protect herself, but who would have thought? The little snake completely changed its demeanor in front of Mia. The snake tail curled around Mother's wrist. Even when sleeping it had to cling to her, just like a delicate and pitiful little snake. Lucas was so angry he nearly fell over backwards, while their daughter was still fawning over Mia in front of him. Mother, my tail is softer than father's. Hold me, he thought. He must find something to keep the little snake busy, so he handed her over to the tutors, until one day, when he went to check on her studies, she eagerly asked him to write strokes on the paper. The entire snake lay on the paper, looking at him with a smug expression and saying, Father, look. She was connected to the ink and brush, forming a single character, home. After hearing the story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.